before you do anything else, stay with me for a little while. Do not rush to the next video. Do not let your mind wander to the hundreds of worries waiting for you after this message ends. Because this moment is not an accident. You may believe you clicked on this video because of curiosity, but I have been preparing this conversation with your heart long before your finger touched the screen. There is something you have been asking me. Maybe you never said it out loud. Maybe you whispered it through tears when no one else could hear. Or maybe you stopped asking because you became tired of waiting for an answer. The question has always been the same. Lord, why is everything taking so long? Why has the prayer remained unanswered? Why has the door stayed closed? Why does it seem like everyone else is moving forward while your life feels paused? You have tried to stay faithful. You have continued praying. You have continued believing. Yet there are nights when your heart quietly wonders if I have forgotten your address. I know those moments. I know the silence that follows another disappointing phone call. I know what it feels like when you open your bank account hoping something has changed, and nothing has. I know the weight of walking back into another ordinary day while carrying extraordinary burdens that nobody else can see. Some mornings you wake up already exhausted. Not because your body lacks strength, but because your soul has grown tired of hoping for something that never seems to arrive. You tell people you're doing fine. You smile when someone asks how you're doing. You keep showing up. You keep working. You keep serving others, but deep is absent, and someone who is carefully preparing the perfect moment. A farmer does not plant a seed and dig it up every morning to prove it is growing. The greatest changes happen after they were over. The opportunity you cried over losing later became the very thing that protected you. The relationship that ended eventually saved you from years of pain. The delay that frustrated you prepared you for something you were not yet ready to carry. You called those seasons disappointments. Today you call them blessings in disguise. So why do you believe this season will be any different? Why are you so certain that this waiting has no purpose? The truth is, you are standing too close to the painting to understand what the artist is creating. You only see unfinished brushstrokes. I already see the masterpiece. Before this month ends, I want you to begin seeing your waiting differently. Not because every circumstance will suddenly change overnight, but because your understanding will begin to change. And once your perspective changes, fear begins to lose its power. There is something happening behind the scenes that you cannot yet recognize. Conversations you know nothing about. Doors quietly being prepared. Lessons taking root inside your heart. People being positioned. Circumstances aligning. Pieces moving into place with a precision only heaven can fully understand. You think nothing is happening because nothing is visible. But the roots of the strongest trees grow for a long time before anyone sees a single branch. So do not measure my work by what appears on the surface. Measure it by my character. And my character has never changed. I have never abandoned one promise. I have never forgotten one child. I have never lost control of one situation. Not then. Not now. Not ever. So before we go any further, I want you to release one burden from your heart. Stop asking whether I am still working. Instead, ask me to help you recognize what I have already begun. Because what I'm about to show you next may completely change the way you remember every delay you've ever experienced. The hardest part of waiting has never been the passing of time. It has been the stories your mind creates. That is why my peace is never shaken. I already know the destination while you are still walking the road. Think about Joseph. You keep asking me to show you evidence. But evidence already exists. It simply exists somewhere your eyes cannot yet reach. You believe nothing is moving because your own life feels quiet. Yet there are conversations happening that will eventually include your name. There are opportunities slowly taking shape. There are hearts I am softening. There are places I am closing because they would have wounded you if I had allowed you to enter them too soon. Some of the prayers I did not answer immediately were actually acts of protection. You called them rejection. I called them mercy. You thought I had forgotten you. I was keeping you from walking into something that would have stolen your peace. One day you will look back and thank me for every closed door that once broke your heart. Not because losing it felt good, but because you finally saw what losing it protected you from. There are moments when my greatest blessing is not giving you what you asked for. It is giving you what you would have asked for if you could see what I see. That is why trust matters so much. Trust is not pretending you understand everything. Trust is choosing to believe my heart even when my hands seem still. Some of you have mistaken my silence for inactivity. But silence does not mean I have stopped working. A builder does not announce every brick being placed beneath the foundation. The strongest parts of a house are often the parts no visitor ever sees. In the same way, I have been strengthening parts of your character that success alone could never build. Patience, wisdom, humility, compassion, dependence on me instead of circumstances. You prayed for a stronger faith. But stronger faith is not created in moments when every answer arrives immediately. It is formed in seasons when you continue walking with me despite not seeing the whole picture. That is where real confidence grows. Not confidence in yourself, but confidence in my faithfulness. You have survived days you once believed would destroy you. You have carried burdens you never imagined you could bear. And every step of the way, even when you did not recognize my presence, I was holding you together. There were moments you believed you were carrying your life alone. You were not. I was carrying you. Every breath, every tear, every silent prayer, every sleepless night. I saw them all. And none of them have been wasted. Nothing you have endured in faith will be meaningless. Not one lesson. Not one disappointment. Not one delay. Everything is becoming part of a story that you cannot fully read yet. You only have today's page. I already hold the entire book. So stop believing that the chapter you're living in is the ending. It is not. It is only the place where I am quietly preparing the next chapter. One that will reveal why this season of waiting was never empty in the first place. There is something your heart has been misunderstanding about this season. You have been calling it waiting. But I have been calling it becoming. Because while you have been watching the calendar, I have been shaping the person who will step into the answer. You believe your greatest need is for your circumstances to change. But I know that if your heart changes first, you will carry every blessing with peace instead of fear. Think about how easily people ask for success. Very few ask for the wisdom to remain humble after they receive it. Many ask for influence. Few ask for the character to use that influence with compassion. Many pray for open doors. Few realize that the person walking through those doors matters more than the doors themselves. That is why I have been working on you before I work around you. Some of you have been frustrated because life feels ordinary. You wake up, go to work, come home, pray, sleep, then repeat it all again. Nothing dramatic, nothing exciting, nothing that looks like a miracle. But tell me, when does a seed grow the fastest? While everyone is watching, or while it remains hidden beneath the soil? The greatest transformation has always happened where human eyes cannot see. Roots grow in darkness before branches ever reach the sunlight. And deep roots are what keep a tree standing when storms arrive. If I gave you the branches without the roots, the first strong wind would destroy everything you prayed for. That is why I refuse to rush what must be strengthened first. You compare your journey with people around you. Someone else gets promoted. Someone else gets married. Someone else starts the business. Someone else seems to receive every opportunity you have been praying for. Quietly, comparison begins whispering. Maybe God loves them more. Maybe I missed my chance. Maybe I'm too late. No, my child. You are measuring your life against a story I never asked you to live. You are reading someone else's chapter while I am still writing yours. Every life has its own timing. Every calling has its own preparation. Every assignment has its own season. Do not mistake someone else's harvest for proof that your seed has stopped growing. A vineyard and an olive tree do not bear fruit in the same month. Yet both fulfill the purpose for which they were planted. So will you. There are moments when I intentionally slow your journey because speed would steal the lesson that patience is trying to teach. You think arriving quickly is always better. But imagine placing a child behind the controls of an airplane simply because he is eager to fly. Desire alone is not enough. Preparation protects the future. That is exactly what I have been doing with you. Protecting your future from a version of yourself that was not yet ready. There are conversations I needed you to survive before you reached your next season. There were disappointments that quietly removed pride from your heart. There were failures that taught you to depend on me instead of your own strength. There were tears that softened places inside you that success never could. None of those moments were meaningless. Every one of them became part of the foundation I am building. Even the prayers that seemed unanswered have been shaping you. Because sometimes the greatest miracle is not receiving everything you asked for. It is becoming someone who trusts me whether the answer comes today or tomorrow. And that kind of faith cannot be manufactured overnight. It is formed one ordinary day at a time. One prayer at a time. One act of obedience at a time. One moment of choosing hope over fear at a time. So stop believing that nothing is happening. Every quiet day has been preparing a louder testimony. Every unseen lesson has been building an unshakable faith. And sooner than you realize, you will look back at this season and understand that while you thought you were simply waiting, I was preparing a life far greater than the one you were asking me to give you. There is another truth I want you to carry deep within your heart. You keep looking at the calendar. I keep looking at your future. Those are not the same thing. You count the days that have passed. I see the days that are coming. And because you cannot yet see what I see, you have begun believing that time is working against you. But my child, time has never been your enemy. Fear has simply convinced you that every passing day is proof that you are falling behind. How many times have you looked at your life and quietly said, "By now I thought I would be married. By now I thought I would have that job. By now I thought my family would be healed. By now I thought life would finally make sense." Those expectations have become invisible deadlines. And every time another month passes, disappointment grows a little louder. But who created those deadlines? Not me. Many of them were created by comparison. You looked at someone else's timeline and assumed it should become yours. You watched friends celebrate milestones. You scrolled through pictures of people announcing promotions, weddings, new homes, growing families. Slowly, without realizing it, you began measuring my faithfulness by someone else's story. Comparison is dangerous because it hides the miracles already happening in your own life. While you focus on what you do not have, you stop noticing what I have already given you. You overlook the strength you did not have a year ago, the peace that slowly replaced panic, the wisdom that only came through painful seasons, the relationships I quietly protected, the dangers I kept you from seeing. You think nothing has changed. Yet if you could see yourself through my eyes, you would realize how much has already been transformed. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not an open door. It is a healed heart. Because an open door without healing often leads to repeating the same pain in a different place. I care too much about you to simply change your surroundings while leaving your heart wounded. That is why I often begin inside before I work outside. You ask me to change your future. I begin by changing the way you see yourself. Because if you still believe you are unworthy, no blessing will ever feel like enough. If you still believe you are forgotten, every delay will feel like rejection. If you still believe you are alone, even miracles will not silence your fear for very long. That is why I have been teaching you something far more valuable than patience. I have been teaching you trust. Trust that remains steady even when the answer has not yet arrived. Trust that chooses peace before circumstances improve. Trust that believes my character more than your emotions. Remember Abraham. The promise did not arrive when he expected. Year after year passed. Every birthday reminded him that the promise still seemed impossible. If he had judged my faithfulness by the calendar, he would have believed I failed. But I never forgot what I had spoken. Not for one moment. The promise was delayed. It was never abandoned. Perhaps that is exactly where you are today. You are confusing delay with denial. You are interpreting silence as absence. You are believing the waiting means the promise has disappeared. No, my child. What I have spoken over your life has not been erased by the passing of time. The same hands that carried you through every difficult season are still guiding every step you take today. Every prayer, every tear, every moment you wondered whether I was listening, has remained precious to me. Nothing has been wasted. Not one day. Not one disappointment. Not one moment of faithful waiting. Because even now, while you are wondering when everything will finally make sense, I am arranging pieces that only eternity will fully reveal. And one day you will discover that what felt like the longest delay of your life was actually one of the greatest demonstrations of my perfect timing. There is something you have asked me many times without even realizing it. You have said, "Lord, if you love me, why didn't you let that happen? Why didn't that relationship last? Why didn't I get that job? Why did that opportunity disappear just when everything seemed perfect? Why did you allow that door to close when I prayed so hard for it to open?" My child, there are answers you are not ready to understand yet. Not because I want to hide the truth from you, but because you can only appreciate protection after you discover what you were being protected from. A child may cry when a loving parent takes something dangerous out of their hands. The child thinks something precious was taken away. The parent knows something harmful was removed. That is how many of you have remembered your disappointments. You mourned what I removed, while I quietly celebrated what I had rescued you from. You only saw the closed door. I saw what was waiting behind it. You only saw the person who walked away. I saw the pain they would have carried into your future. You only saw the opportunity disappear. I saw the burden it would have placed on shoulders that were never meant to carry it. My no has often been one of the greatest expressions of my love. Not because I enjoy watching you wait, but because I refuse to trade your future for a temporary satisfaction. You have often mistaken immediate happiness for lasting peace. They are not the same. There are blessings that shine brightly in the beginning but slowly steal your joy over time. There are opportunities that look perfect from a distance but quietly lead your heart away from the purpose I created you for. If I allowed every door to open simply because you wanted it, you would eventually ask me why I did not protect you. So I did. Even when it hurt. Even when you misunderstood me. Even when your tears asked questions your faith could not answer. I protected you. Think about how many things in your past now make sense. The prayer you once begged me to answer. Today you thank me that I didn't. The relationship you thought you could never live without. Today you see how much peace entered your life after it ended. The failure that embarrassed you became the turning point that redirected your entire future. What changed? Not my faithfulness. Only your perspective. That is why I need you to stop judging today's pain as though it already knows tomorrow's purpose. This chapter has not finished speaking. There are pages you have not reached yet. Do not write the ending while I am still writing the story. Remember Moses? Standing at the edge of the Red Sea, it looked as though every direction had been blocked. Mountains on both sides. An army behind him. Water in front of him. Everything suggested there was no way forward. But what looked like the end of the road was actually the place where I would reveal a path no human being could have imagined. Sometimes I allow you to stand where every visible option disappears. So you will discover that my power has never depended on visible options. I specialize in making a way where there seems to be no way. Many of you are standing beside your own Red Sea today. Your future looks uncertain. The answers seem hidden. Nothing appears to be moving. And fear keeps whispering, "It's over." But fear has never known the plans I have for you. Fear only reports what it can see. Faith trusts what I have already spoken. That is why I ask you not to let panic become your counselor. Do not build tomorrow's conclusions on today's emotions. Your emotions change. My promises do not. There are miracles already moving toward you that have not yet reached your eyes. There are conversations happening that will one day answer prayers you almost stopped praying. There are people I am preparing to cross your path at exactly the right moment. There are doors that seem closed today because I am opening better ones you cannot yet imagine. So breathe, my child. You do not have to force what I have already planned. You do not have to chase what I have promised to place in your hands. When the right time comes, no amount of delay will stop what I have prepared. And before this month ends, I want you to begin recognizing something beautiful. Many of the things you once called losses were actually the fingerprints of my protection, quietly guiding you toward a future that is far better than the one you were trying to build on your own. There is something I need you to understand before this season is over. You have been asking me to prepare the blessing. But all this time, I have also been preparing you. Because the answer to your prayer is not just an event. It is a responsibility. And every responsibility requires a heart that knows how to carry it. Many people believe blessings automatically create happiness. That is not always true. A blessing placed into unprepared hands can quickly become another burden. That is why I never rush what I deeply care about. Imagine placing a priceless treasure into the hands of someone who has never learned its value. The treasure is perfect. But without preparation it can easily be lost. I love you too much to allow that to happen. That is why this waiting has not been empty. While you were counting months, I was building maturity. While you were watching the calendar, I was strengthening your faith. While you were wondering why nothing was changing, I was quietly changing the parts of you that only I could see. You prayed for peace. Yet peace is not something I simply hand to people who never learned to trust me. Peace grows where trust grows. And trust is usually born during seasons when answers are delayed. He would fall. That is my heart toward you. Your mistakes have never surprised me. Your weaknesses have never canceled my purpose. Your failures have never become stronger than my grace. Some of you are still carrying guilt from decisions you made years ago. You keep replaying those moments as though they have the authority to define your future. But tell me, if I have already forgiven what you continue to remember, why are you allowing your past to speak louder than my mercy? You cannot move confidently toward tomorrow while constantly living inside yesterday. Leave yesterday where I left it. I have already written redemption into places where you still see only regret. There are people listening to this message who feel as though they have fallen too far behind. You compare your life with everyone around you. You see others reaching goals that you are still praying for. And quietly you wonder, did I miss my opportunity? No, you have not missed what I have prepared for you. What belongs to you cannot be stolen by another person's success. Their blessing does not cancel yours. Their season does not replace yours. I do not run out of purpose. I do not run out of opportunities. I do not run out of grace. You are not competing with my plan. You are simply walking through it one step at a time. Even now, while you think this season has been about waiting, heaven has been arranging details that you could never arrange yourself. Names are being connected. Hearts are being softened. Doors are being unlocked. Lessons are reaching completion. Pieces are moving together with a precision that only eternity can fully explain. One day you will look back and realize that if even one of those pieces had arrived too early, the whole picture would have been incomplete. That is why I ask you once more. Stop measuring my faithfulness by your timetable. Measure it by my promises. Have I ever stopped loving you? No. Have I ever stopped guiding you? No. Have I ever abandoned those who trust me? Never. Then why would I begin with you? Lift your eyes beyond today's uncertainty. The waiting is not evidence that I have forgotten you. It is evidence that I care enough to prepare something worth waiting for. And when the moment I have chosen finally arrives, you will understand that every day you thought was ordinary was quietly leading you to something extraordinary. There is something beautiful about the way I work that many people never notice. You expect me to change your life through one dramatic miracle. But many times, I change a life through one ordinary moment. One conversation. One unexpected phone call. One person you almost walked past. One opportunity you nearly ignored. One quiet decision to keep trusting me when giving up seemed easier. Never underestimate how quickly I can change the direction of your story. You have spent months believing nothing is happening. But I can accomplish in one day what would take human effort years to achieve. The waiting was never because I lacked power. The waiting was because I was arranging the perfect moment. Think about Esther. For years she lived an ordinary life without knowing why certain doors opened while others closed. She could not see that every step was quietly leading her toward a moment that would save an entire nation. Nothing in her early story looked extraordinary. Yet every ordinary day was preparing her for an extraordinary assignment. That is how I often work with my children. You judge your life by today's routine. I judge it by tomorrow's purpose. Some of you have become discouraged because every day looks the same. You wake up, go through your responsibilities, carry your burdens, pray before sleeping, then wake up and repeat it all again. Feels as though life has stopped moving. But tell me, does a clock stop working simply because you cannot hear every gear turning? No. Its smallest movements are often the ones that keep everything else in motion. The same is true for your life. You notice the big moments. I am working through the small ones. Every act of obedience matters. Every quiet prayer matters. Every decision to forgive instead of becoming bitter matters. Every time you choose integrity when nobody is watching. Heaven notices. You think only the extraordinary moments shape your future. But your future is built inside ordinary choices repeated faithfully. Some of you are asking me for a breakthrough while ignoring the daily habits that prepare you to receive it. Faith is not only believing me when the miracle arrives. Faith is honoring me before anything changes. It is thanking me before you understand. It is choosing peace before you see proof. It is refusing to surrender hope simply because the answer has not yet appeared. I know there are mornings when disappointment speaks louder than expectation. You remember every prayer that still feels unanswered. You remember every plan that did not unfold the way you imagined. And quietly your heart asks, Lord, what if nothing ever changes? My child, that question has been whispered by many faithful people before you. Yet none of their fears changed my plans. The future I have prepared for you has never depended on your ability to predict it. It depends on my faithfulness. And my faithfulness has never failed. Not once. There are people already moving toward your life who have no idea they will become part of your testimony. There are answers already on their way that have not yet entered your field of vision. There are doors that appear closed today because the right key has not yet arrived. When it does, what seemed impossible will suddenly seem perfectly timed. You will not need to force what I have chosen. You will not need to chase what I have already assigned to you. When my timing arrives, peace comes with it, clarity comes with it, and you will recognize that what you once called delay was actually my loving hand keeping every piece in perfect order. So do not become weary in this season. Do not allow temporary silence to convince you of a permanent ending. Your story is still unfolding. And before you can fully understand why I asked you to wait, there is one more truth I need to place in your heart. Because the greatest transformation I have been working on has never been around you. It has been within you. My child, there is one final lesson hidden inside this season of waiting. You have been asking me to show you the entire path. I have only been asking you to take the next step. Faith has never meant seeing everything clearly. It has always meant trusting the one who already does. Think about how many times I have carried you before. There were seasons you thought would break you. Yet here you are. There were prayers you thought would never be answered. Yet I made a way you never expected. If I have been faithful in your past, why would I fail you now? Do not let today's uncertainty erase yesterday's testimony. The enemy wants you to focus on what has not happened. I want you to remember everything I have already done. Every closed door had a purpose. Every delay carried protection. Every tear has been seen. Every prayer has been heard. Nothing has been wasted. Even now, while you cannot see the full picture, I am placing every piece exactly where it belongs. One day you will look back at this season and smile. Not because waiting was easy, but because you will finally understand why it was necessary. So lay your worries in my hands. Stop trying to force tomorrow to arrive today. What I have prepared for you is not late. It is simply arriving at the perfect time. Keep walking. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Because before this season is over, you will discover that I was never making you wait without a reason. I was preparing something far better than you imagined. My beloved child, before this message comes to an end, I want you to be still for just a moment and let these words settle deep into your heart. You have spent so much of this season wondering whether you have been forgotten. You have questioned your purpose. You have questioned your prayers. Some days you have even questioned yourself. You have asked, Lord, did I make a wrong turn? Did I miss what you had planned for me? Have I waited too long? My child, if I wanted to abandon you, I would never have carried you this far. Think about everything you have already survived. The nights you thought you would never make it through. The disappointments that left your heart broken. The prayers that seemed to echo back in silence. The moments when you smiled for everyone else while secretly asking me to help you hold yourself together. You are still here. Not because you were always strong, but because I was faithful. Every step you have taken until today has been supported by hands you could not always see. Even when you thought you were walking alone, I was carrying the part of your burden you could never have carried by yourself. There were days when you almost gave up. Days when you wanted to stop believing. Days when quitting seemed easier than hoping one more time. Yet something inside you kept moving forward. That was not luck. That was my spirit quietly strengthening you when your own strength was gone. Do not allow one unfinished chapter to convince you that the whole story has failed. You have only seen the middle of the journey. I already see the ending. And I promise you, the ending is far more beautiful than the waiting. One day you will look back at this season, not with regret but with gratitude. You will realize that the delays taught you patience. The silence taught you trust. The closed doors protected you from paths that would have stolen your peace. The waiting drew you closer to me in ways comfort never could. You will understand that I was never punishing you. I was preparing you. Preparing your heart. Preparing your character. Preparing opportunities. Preparing people. Preparing blessings that required the right season to arrive. Nothing has been random. Nothing has been wasted. Not one prayer. Not one tear. Not one sleepless night. I have collected every moment that mattered to you because every moment mattered to me. So stop carrying tomorrow as though it depends entirely on you. It never did. The future you fear is already in my hands. The answers you are searching for are already known to me. The doors that need to open will open. The doors that remain closed are closed because my love is protecting you from what you cannot yet understand. Trust my timing more than your emotions. Trust my promises more than your fears. Trust my character more than your circumstances. Because circumstances will change. Feelings will change. People will change. But I never change. I was faithful yesterday. I am faithful today. And I will be faithful tomorrow. So when this message ends and life returns to its ordinary routine, do not leave these words behind. Carry them with you. When fear whispers that nothing is happening, remember that roots grow before fruit appears. When doubt tells you that you have waited too long, remember that I have never arrived late. When anxiety tries to convince you that your story is over, remember that I am still writing it, and I always finish what I begin. Walk into the rest of this month with peace instead of panic. Walk with expectation instead of fear. Walk knowing that even when you cannot see my hand, you can always trust my heart. Because before this season is over, you will understand why I asked you to wait. You will see that my delays were never rejection. They were preparation. My silence was never absence. It was my quiet work beneath the surface. And when everything finally comes together, you will not give credit to luck or coincidence. You will know without any doubt that I was guiding every step from the very beginning. Until that day, keep praying, keep believing, keep walking with me. I have never left your side. I never will. Amen. If this message spoke to your heart, write Amen in the comments as your declaration of faith. Share this message with someone who is still waiting on God's perfect timing, and subscribe for more messages of hope and encouragement. May God's peace fill your heart, strengthen your faith, and remind you every day that His timing is always worth the wait.